Question: which group of people in the United States is the coolest? If there was one, and let's narrow it down to race and ethnicity. If there was one group who everyone else ultimately tried to emulate if they wanted to become cooler, which group would that be? To me, it's obvious: Black Americans. It's obvious to me that even in a recent skit that aired on Saturday Night Live, it was a parody of a dating show, and it had these three white men who were very nerdy, all trying to go out on a date with a beautiful black woman. That was the concept of the skit. Even when I think of what we see in commercials, what we see in sports, what we see in music, we see that ultimately it's Black Americans that are starting these trends. And even if there's all kinds of trends for other things, but ultimately, overall, Black Americans are cool. That's ultimately what we're emulating things after. Now, we could even go back, we could use Elvis even as an example. That's a long time ago, that's the 1950s. But even he, if it weren't for Black Americans and Black culture, Elvis would have never become one of the most famous people on the planet. And even if we look at the most successful musical artist in the 2000s, Eminem, okay, so he was a white man, but he wouldn't have had the ability to perform like he did had he not been influenced by Black Americans in the genre of rap. So even when people who are white do things that are successful, so often it's because they learned it from Black people. Now, some people would say cultural appropriation, that would be the word they use. And that's not really what I'm wanting to focus on in this video. My point is, Black people do cool stuff. They're the leaders of cool culture. And everybody else, to some degree, if they want to be cool, are probably stepping closer to that concept. I think that's interesting. And ultimately, I'm wondering, has it always been that way? I mean, I think to some degree, Jewish Americans have been in the situation a little bit. When we look at especially movies and TV and sitcoms, try to find a movie or a sitcom that doesn't have at least one Jewish actor in it. You know, they're the ones especially writing and producing, but often, rarely without exception, will you find that there's a show without a Jewish person in it. So, but I think modern day though, if you want to be cool, you're emulating Black culture to some degree. I think there's a lot of truth in that, but what do I know? I'm just some guy on the internet. I'd like to explore this conversation further. Your comments belong right here.